And we are live. Hello, world. I'm here with Cal and Dylan Saw, longtime friends from way back.
Yes.
Dylan is
Yes.
Dylan is known for co-writing The Big Red Dot at the age of 12 and giving a TEDx talk about it. And his first Kickstarter at age 11. His second Kickstarter was the One Kind Lot Rhetorical World's first Lego hydroponic system designed for urban apartments. Did I get that right? That was a lot of complicated words. And Cal likes to be introduced as Dylan's father, who used to be in advertising. That was probably a lot more into
it. I think you lose your identity when you become a parent.
Okay. So the next generation is always going to be better than you. Is that it?
We would hope so.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But you're not living through Dylan now, are you?
Vicariously?
Depends sometimes. Sometimes Sometimes I do cooler things and riskier things than he does.
Yeah.
Sometimes he has to tell me, don't do that you can get arrested.
Yeah. Sometimes I tend to be the more mature one. As I grow up, I've slowly surpassed it. Yeah.
But that's how it goes, right? You just like at a certain age, you start becoming younger.
Yeah. And the older you get, the less you give a care about what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely do. So the first time I met you, you were on Slush Stage at Singapore and you sang the song, Dylan.
Yes.
And right. I was expecting my firstborn at the time, and you had like this nice vibe that is going on right here, right, as well. So I came over backstage and asked for parenting advice. And then Cal looked at me and then looked at you, Dylan, and he said, I should have put this kid up for adoption. and Dylan's reply was, I don't know what would have become of you if you would have done that, Dad. And that was the best comeback from, I think you were like 14 at the time.
14,
yeah, you were 14 at the time. I'm like, yes, okay. And then I don't know if I kind of remember us going back to this, but I asked you via an email, Cal. I asked you what would be some good advice for somebody who's becoming a parent. And what you said at that time was, your reply was, it's not about how you raise your kids, it's about how you let your kids raise you.
Oh my God. I could have said that. That's like a nothing statement.
I think, yeah. I mean, the realization was we think we're parenting them, but along the way, they parent you along the journey, right? So you learn. If you allow yourself to learn, you will learn.
Yeah, I think if you're in a relationship with your kid and you think that they are the only ones learning out of that dynamic, then you're
yeah, okay.
You're not getting as much out.
There's more things, for you to see.
Fair enough. Before we go dwelling into like what parenting will look in the age of AI, and you told me earlier that you might be using ChatGPT for a bunch of things when it comes to parenting. At least you had some great ideas. But you are now in Helsinki. You are not in Singapore. So
yes, right now.
You're calling. So why are you in Helsinki for this weekend?
His mom, my grandmother, is a chef. She does cooking experience out of her house in Singapore. She recently sold the house, and she's 81 now, and she wants to travel the world.
Yeah.
Right? And over the years, a lot of the guests have been from everywhere. So they've, once we put out the word, they've been kind enough to invite us around. So the first stop is Helsinki right now. Then next week we're doing Amsterdam. In September we're doing Spain, Barcelona, and then Japan we're thinking
December.
Yeah, December. And then next year maybe the other way to New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
Wow. I might piggyback on that one.
Yeah, I think the experience is called One Kind House in Singapore. So the idea is One Kind House now goes on tour. And One Kind House was the family house, and we built a sustainable farm in urban, densely populated Singapore where we grew our own vegetables and the cooking classes. So in a way, the house became a prototype for figuring out what is active aging for my mother. And the house had a prototype R&D lab for the kids when they were growing up to do the project. So what was, in a way, the future of education as well, where there's a space for them to experiment and to try. It's not about success or failure. It's just a place for them to try new ideas. So once my mom reached a certain age where she went like, okay, what's the next phase? And we thought now that the kids have grown up, the next phase would be we take One Kind House on tour. So we'll travel with her, and then we'll cook, we'll eat, we'll meet cultures, we'll make friends. And one of the easiest way to make friends is through food.
Yeah. No, I completely agree on this. Everybody has a culinary heritage, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody eats. So it's like everyone eats. So you can talk about, where you're from, how you are through food. So growing up, Dylan, what did you get out of having that prototyping workshop? Like, that's a different kind of privilege. I didn't have that. I had a yard, and I played like in I don't know, on the yard with friends, right? So you spend more time in that workshop because you had it?
No, I think I spent, wherever it was, I wasn't spending time in school. So it's the workshop or school, so it was the workshop. No, I think no, I was out with friends. I mean, that was still that. Right. Still the whole music and all that stuff going on. What did it do for my upbringing? I think it's made prototyping and coming up with ideas almost second nature, to a point where I some of my friends are in university and they talk about that kind of business aspect, coming up with ideas, putting it out on the market. And I feel like I've done it already, although to some degree on Kickstarter, right? A crowdfunding platform, or at least the way that you think about product design and all that stuff, I've kind of gone through already. So it's not something I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's helped me be a more empathetic person, understanding other people, why they want things, why they don't want things. Understanding people are complex, but also quite simple. You can connect to them on some level. You can, speak to them or sell them something if you really want to.
I think for me, what's interesting is the conversations that we have at sometimes dinner or whatever, family conversations, and they're usually by ideas. Where I would come up with an idea, say, "How about this product idea?" And everyone would talk about it and think it through, and they go, "Oh, I think it's shit. Doesn't sound like it's good," Or they will come up with or try to improve it, or they come up with their own ideas, and we just. So the dinner conversation is usually about ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah, just ideas, or someone notices a certain behavior of certain things, and
it's always linked to something. It's
something
like a pool of stuff.
Yeah, it might be, and then we tie it back into some sort of pattern recognition that we see or spot, and then which then could lead to a sort of a trend or prediction, or what people like to say future casting now.
No, okay. So does the whole family participate in the ideating, or is it just like
in our own ways? I think everyone, it goes through phases of ideating and brainstorming.
I mean, they get involved in the projects. Like last year, I was doing stand-up comedy for a bit.
Okay.
And that was quite interesting. That was me getting out of my comfort zone, and I would run through the ideas with the family, and
it was terrible.
And they would give comments like that and all, and I would sometimes take them on board, or sometimes I would go, no, I'm going to try it anyway. And ultimately, when you do stand up, you will know immediately whether it works or not because the audience is right there. The feedback is instantaneous.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Although the data is not conclusive because you can go to different comedy clubs, comedy rooms, and all of the audience will behave differently.
Okay.
Which is, I feel like, what the things that you liked about advertising, but made like more instant, like gratification from the value of your ideas.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, the feedback is instant.
The feedback, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then you also need to know your audience, right?
Yeah. And this particular audiences are a lot more variable. You can't predict. And there's a lot of alcohol involved as well. So right. So some of the audience, they're completely drunk and rude. Then how do you deal?
Okay. So on these notes, we talked about growing up with a workshop. We talked about parenting, the advice you've given, right? We talked about quickly on singing songs, and we talked about comedy. So if we go back to these subjects through the lens of AI, so just like let's start with like comedy. Like, what is the value of comedy if an AI can crack a joke?
I think, like all things, AI would learn all the jokes that have currently been written. They'll be able to scrape something across, may or may not be funny. But you would use them, you would use AI as more as a springboard than anything. Like, it will churn out 100 and you go like, okay, 2 have a decent idea out of that. And you keep churning out and figuring out. I would say the difference is the nuances AI can't bring it to life because it's, at the moment at least, it's not conscious. It hasn't had a lived experience. It doesn't know what it's like to go out on a date with a girl who then and then dumps you, and then how do you react and make a joke on it? It can't.
It's not relatable. It's not relatable in the same way.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't have the same lived-in experience. It doesn't know what true sadness is, like having to whisper in your father's ear before he passes on, and knowing that your words are the last thing he would hear. What does that impact, and what does that mean? Right. So it can't go to that depth. So there's a superficiality that is useful. I'm not saying it's not, right? But you use it as a springboard. But the best jokes come from keen observation and living through those moments.
Yeah, of course. No, that's still like the human thing. Do you agree with this, Dylan?
Yeah, and like pain, I think pain is something that AI can't quite replicate. The way I see it is more like a tool than anything else, and it's the way that you use it. I mean, creatively more. It comes across more as a springboard or something that helps you write rather than the end result. Not that something AI produces can't evoke that kind of emotion, but like for songwriting or poetry or telling a story, I think there's a keen, that human element that we're talking about, the lived experience and kind of the empathy, knowing that the other thing understands you, that the artist understands you as much as you understand the artist. I think that's a part of the experience, right? And you don't know if AI can understand you. So maybe until it does, I feel like something will always be missing.
I would say I've been watching this. It's been coming onto my feed. AI Beatles. So they've been using this AI to construct and compose Beatles songs, right?
And not in the like final Beatles song sense.
Yeah. But you can see when you hear it, you go, okay, it's recognizable Beatles, and you can kind of go which period as well.
Yeah.
But when you listen to it, the lyrics don't really make a lot of sense. It tries to be deep, but yet simple, but it doesn't have the complexity.
Arguably, neither did the Beatles lyrics.
But like, isn't that something that will be solvable? Like if you project that forward, right, Dylan, when you're Cal's age, like, wouldn't you think that AI will be at a point?
Okay, you go ahead and answer. I have a point of view on that.
Well, okay. I mean, who knows? I don't know. in some ways I'm not too worried, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I haven't projected that far, but I feel like once it gets to that point, everything's gonna be screwed up anyway. So I shouldn't really be worried. I should be the last thing that I'm worrying about. It should be everything else. If it
Okay.
if it can write like genuinely, it can probably do a lot of other things, and then it becomes a bit more dangerous.
I think my point of view is this. I think the description of AI now as a tool is I think a bit simplistic because unlike the other tools that we had, like a calculator and the combustion motor, computers, and all this particular tool is smart enough that it could imitate, manipulate you, and eventually kill you. It's like a kitchen knife that can decide that maybe I want to stab you. So there's a slight difference in the tool. I think where we reach a stage where, if AI continues on its particular velocity and trajectory, it will take over everything, right? Because we're too lazy and we'll let it run everything. Eventually, it will just go by logic, go like, the way to save the world with all that climate change, human beings are the problem.
Yeah.
Right? So the future is when we combine man and machine, right? Like if Elon Musk's his Neuralink works, and then we're able to combine both AI function as well as the human lived experience. Imagine like what is the point of school when you can download all of Shakespeare's work into you? But what then we need to do is figure out how do we apply the wisdom that we have to that body of knowledge.
No, fair enough. And so you're essentially saying that we wouldn't have to go to school in the same way.
We wouldn't. But how do we?
Even now we don't have to go to school in the same way, and AI isn't even there yet.
Yeah. But how do we now apply that wisdom, not knowledge, but wisdom to the infinite knowledge that we will be able to store once you can combine man and machine?
Yeah. That is a good question. Maybe for somebody else to answer in time. Hope we just don't screw that up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
exactly.
If, who do you feel is then would be responsible for figuring this out? Like, where does the responsibility ultimately lie? And we can come back to okay, us as consumers, we have a responsibility to demand certain stuff from those who provide the services we consume. And we should be aware of what these services actually do with, say, our data. That's a very, very today type of thing, right? But if then AI can essentially mimic us quickly, and that's only going to be quicker. You have all these celebrities giving out their rights and stuff. So in all of these questions, who should be figuring this out? Do you feel it's a political question, or the ones creating the technology? Or is it the power actually with the user? We need to be better educated. We need to be more aware, and only then can we stop from screwing up things.
It can't be politics because legislature is always behind technology. So I find it hard to be, and politics also is quite screwed up nowadays.
Especially if it's tied back into business.
Yeah,
it can't be business because business will do whatever it is for
the business,
for the profit for the business.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. It needs to be at the end of it. I don't know. It should be the people if we think about it logically. But the weakness of the people is large, and we're all divided amongst ourselves. We're not really united. Is there a shining beacon of someone with? You're looking for a human being with a operating set of an operating system that is driven by a universal set of values, right? That looks long term into humanity? What would help humanity exist? I
Can't think of someone.
Yeah, I can't think of
Yeah.
someone.
Trump.
But can we
Trump, President
leave it
Trump,
to
he's the
Trump.
one. Yeah.
but can we imagine an AI that is even more benevolent than a human that then would do the thinking for us?
Or even more mature or wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but someone needs it. The AI needs to follow mimic a benevolent human being, right? Some sort of past behavior and structure that they could scrape off from. And I just think our current algorithms, especially on social media, is powered by outrage. Outrage gets you noticed. If you allow AI to scrape whatever is out there, AI will be a very angry AI. It'll be always looking for fight.
Very
antagonistic.
Yeah.
Like it might just deliberately disagree with you just to pick a fight, kind of.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Now, is that reflective of true human behavior? No, but it's reflective of the current algorithms that we have happening.
Okay. So let's park that topic and kind of agree on the fact that, or disagree or agree with the fact that, okay, it can never be a perfect human, or it should be, but there is no such thing, right? But it's still like a person. And then AI is in a current set. I heard of a project in Germany that tries to feed AI tries to feed training data to fine-tune AIs to tell them they're benevolent and good. Like imagine an AI becoming like conscious with data where humans has told that the AI will do bad, right? Instead of like feeding it training data on how AI will save humanity and like not be destructive, right? So their premise is like, let's not tell stories of how it will destroy us, but rather how it will save us. Because at some point that might actually make sense when it comes to mimicking some sort of data structures or whatever. Anyway, do you think you have like different perceptions of how AI should be used because of you growing up in different eras?
I think AI is affecting us.
Are we that different?
Yeah,
eras?
I think okay. So here's what I've always been saying, right? Because technology is exponential. So at my age, in your late 40s to 50s and all, AI is challenging our generation by saying like your jobs could be gone, right? The industry that you're working in might be eliminated. So we're suddenly looking at ourselves and going like, shit, we have to find a new career. We have to reskill, retool, relearn, right? And to figure out stuff. Is that situation that different from his, where he's going to university or not going to university and then going like, I don't know, whatever I'm studying for the next 4 years, will that still exist? If he goes, I want to be an architect. Let's say it takes 7-8 years to graduate as an architect. He'll be in his mid-20s or past his mid-20s. Can hand on heart you say that industry will still be there when he graduates? Will it be the same? Will the school be able to adapt and evolve at the speed of the technology that influences that realm or that industry? I don't know. So in that respect, are we that different? I don't know.
I don't know. We're both unemployed.
Yeah, we're both unemployed, and we're both lost, right? We're both going to be lost. And
but are you? Do you know of a thing where you use the tool differently then? Like, it doesn't sound like you are asking different questions about this or having separate discussions about it or like disagree on the challenges we face.
For us, like in between us.
Yeah, do we use the tool differently? Not really.
Not really, no. I think we're both still more consumers than creators. The way we make stuff is less. It's not because of the AI. We still make stuff from intuition and ourselves. We use AI as a guidance into what the intuition might lead us to.
I think the difference might be if you're making the thing for ourselves, our own personal consumption, for example,
Yeah.
versus a commercial consumption, then it might be different. So if I was in advertising and the industry is being affected by AI, I will use AI to do a content strategy for a particular product, and you list it out. It'll come up with a content strategy, timetable, and some media placement for the next 6 months. Right now, how much intuition and human kind of thinking goes into it depends on the client as well. Because if the client is happy with what AI has presented, then you go with it. As opposed to if Dylan's writing his own song, he's not writing it for a customer, he's writing it for himself. So you might use your AI differently.
Well, if the AI can help me be introspective, but I don't know how often that happens.
Have you tried? Can you prompt AI to help you to be introspective? Because AI can't really be introspective.
No, it can't. It can only help you.
Right.
Maybe if I'm going through a breakup.
Right. And you go like, what
are the top 10 things young Asian men might be repressed about that could come up in a relationship context?
Yeah.
And then that comes out. Okay, I'm gonna write about these things.
What are the top 10 things about breakup that appears in songs? Then you go, okay, I'm gonna rule those things out.
Yeah.
For example.
What would Bob Dylan write about if he had just
and then make a song out of that?
Yeah. He might have written just like a woman, but given the current context, it'd be just like he, she, they, them. It's right. Just like pansexual.
Yeah.
Okay. That is very, very like a very true point. I think that is something of our generation we pay more attention to, or like you hope people would pay more attention to, like that people would feel more included in society to begin with, regardless of their like differences. Okay, so what about grandma then? Like grandma is not on call, so grandma who's cooking this weekend at Naughty Burger in Helsinki.
In Helsinki,
for all Finns who end up watching this thing or reading about what we discussed. So what, like, how has she like participated in the discussion? Does she even care? Does she like
on AI?
Yeah.
I think if we could design a AI companion for the elderly based on her cell data, for example, it might be useful. As in, like, because she's not that technology savvy, so AI could then go, here's some cooking shows, some cultural shows, some blah blah blah, and here's your daily content list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And if she's into playing mahjong, it might go like, here are some of the top 5 mahjong plays from this week at the Macau mahjong competition, whatever.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, I think, could be interesting mentally.
I mean, she would be the consumer less than the person actively using AI. I don't think being born in World War II sets you up for a good president.
Look, don't forget also the data, the medical data that goes into it, and the sort of a quasi ChatGPT doctor.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very useful for her.
Give her some simple
maybe
things.
Because she doesn't listen to you.
Yeah.
Maybe the idea
that's true
is to create the perfect AI son.
Yeah.
Right. Who doesn't nag or can communicate with you in a way that doesn't come across as nagging.
Yeah.
And then can get you to, go to exercise, go do your chores and everything.
Or it will be the go between. Like I go like, look, my mother's annoying me. I've told her so many times to do these things, to go and exercise. She doesn't. Could you phrase it in such a way that
the perfect AI intergenerational trauma communicator?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That thing. I want that thing. They're actually marketing a product here in Helsinki here, or like in radio here in Finland. I don't know how long, but they have a product now where you pay a service to call your elderly who you care for, to remind the tool. They call them at certain hours and remind to do X, Y, and Z, right? So what if this tool could actually have your voice, right, which is fully attainable, and then like basically be this benevolent, what did you call it, Dylan? The
intergenerational
Yeah,
trauma communicator.
Yeah.
yes.
So can you
That's
say
probably-
this? Can you say this?
IGTC,
Yeah, IGTC. Can you say this to my mother, but in a way
that she would
that
react
she would
positively
listen,
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
doesn't reject the things I say?
But then this is I think in China they already have it. They launched a version of it, which is even if you've passed on, you've scraped enough data that you are that scene in Superman where he sees his father and the father talks to him as if he was alive.
Yeah.
Right? That's already happening now.
Yeah, so you can deal with like the grief part of things differently, and people can stay.
Yeah,
With you.
your parents would live on in the sense, depending on how much data they have, and you can access to it. But you could ask your parent for advice. I'm going through a breakup, right? What would dad at 30 years old say? What would dad at 50 years old say? What would dad at 50 years old say?
No, that would be cool. No, I think you're not benevolent, Cal. You probably leave a version of yourself cracking bad jokes at dinner tables.
I think when he leaves, I'm very happy. I don't want to. I don't like. He's gone. I don't want to talk to him again.
Yeah, you might not have a choice.
Yeah.
You might not have a choice.
I don't have a choice now.
But there will probably be a service that will still go like, oh, Kelvin, do you want to still be a pain in your son's ass when you're dead? Yes. Click yes,
And then I have to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, it's a subscription service.
I need to introduce you to my father, right? Still alive. So he's the kind of guy who has the answers to everything. It's not a discussion. This man is brilliant, right? He walks around with a T-shirt at times that says, F Google, ask me. And he will actually tell you that don't Google this stuff. Like, I know. The ironic thing was that he has now been, the company he worked for, he's just about to retire. The company he worked with got acquired for Google. So now if you ask him, it's basically asking Google.
Asking Google.
Yes. But kind of figure out, so his take is that disregard blockchain, any art created by a computer is meaningless. It has no value.
Oh.
Because it can be created in full abundance. Right.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this? Is a song or anything created with the help of AI, does it have value if it can't be uniquely tagged? So let's not put blockchain in here, right? Because there's an argument for like it becomes unique and blah blah. And even then you can create like a lot of it.
Okay, so the basis of creativity, one aspect of creativity is to take two things that don't match and you put them together to create a new thing. So two known things that are combined and a new thing is created, right? So my favorite example is Einstein's theory of relativity, where you have length, breadth, and height, the 3 dimensions, but he takes the known entity of time and says that's the 4th thing, and he combines it with the 3 dimensions to theory. So I think IBM has this thing with AI where all these companies have millions and millions of patents, right? They've patented a lot of stuff. So the AI will go through all that patents and then starts combining them. Most of them are shit. But within the internal library, they'll come up with stuff where a few things might be interesting. And you do it at speed. And you keep combining, and you see what comes out. And randomness that comes out. At the end of it, it's still that requires, I think, the human aspect of what is relevant, what is the problem that it's solving for humanity. As long as humanity is at the top of the food chain. If it's not, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So it creativity is combining a couple of things, and the output at best is something that serves humanity at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an algorithm that you can program to figure out. Now, real true madness in terms of creativity, it has a randomness that is maybe the algorithm might chance upon, right? But it's usually very random, where it just comes up from nowhere and it doesn't make sense.
Mm.
And that is maybe the saving aspect of humanity, where if we allow ourselves to go back to it, some human being along the way in the Amazon decides to take a frog and lick it and then dies from it. It just does not make sense. It's so random that someone has to lick that, and that particular frog has the most potent poison.
But the rest learned immediately after that, right?
We still don't learn. We're still
licking the frog. Yeah, I think
Okay, so Dylan, do you agree with these notions, or are you like on a different end?
I feel obligated to, but I haven't agreed with him on many things. So no, but I think for me, with the point of view of art, it's always about the person creating it, understanding what they're creating, and then understanding what the viewer of it experiences on some level. To me, that's what differentiates real art from AI art. But that's not to say AI art isn't creative or it can't, evoke these things. I think in songwriting, a big part is understanding, like if a songwriter, Bob Dylan writes about pain or sadness, it's knowing that he understands it in his own way, and that comes about in this. Whereas with AI, it's not quite at the level where you can believe that it knows what it's doing.
So that's interesting, right? So
which is a part of like the Turing test, right? Whether the AI, whether it's a simulation or if it's
AI surpassed the Turing test, right? Yeah. But I think what's interesting is that AI can help you write the song, assuming it can help you write a song.
Yeah.
And can write it well.
I believe it can.
Right.
Yeah.
But can you ask AI and then go like, how do you think that person would react and feel about the song? And maybe that's where it can't do that yet. It can help you create it, but you can't tell you how that person will react to it. Whereas for human beings, maybe intuitively from a gut, we could tell how would people feel. Maybe.
No, but like isn't basically like the feeling, like if you would take like Spotify trend data, right? And then that tells you how many people somehow react to, or like it can't tell you how a person makes it feel, but there's a reaction to it. The data tells that more people react to this in a certain way, and it's probably a strong feeling, either of joy or hate or whatever, and because that makes people engage in content, right? So the data, if you take just a vast amount of data and create a song based on that, that's a business model a company called like Epidemic Sounds already uses. They create like royalty free music for YouTube streamers and whatever the likes, and they do it by looking at trend data. So like, isn't that data already a signal of how it would make you feel if you create a song like this?
Yeah, but I just wouldn't know why. I think it still needs to be interpreted as to why it makes them feel that way.
I think if you take the known aspects to create a song based on trends and data, yes. But if you were trying to create a song that's never been done before, then there's no data set to kind of fall back on to go, this is how people react to it.
True.
You know what I mean? So if you're in the business of really creating something truly original, there's a huge risk, right?
Yeah.
So it's not worth it from a commercial point of view, where a company will put the risk that they don't have a risk appetite for that. But if you're a pure artist, you take the risk. You go like, I'll put it out there. It works for me. I love it. I don't give a shit whether other people like it.
Yeah, no. The case example here would be, have you heard the Finnish Eurovision winner from last year called Käärijä?
Käärijä.
I saw this year's Eurovision, Windows 95 Man.
Yeah, don't. That was let's not go down that rabbit hole of what happened during that Eurovision. But last year, the year previous, there's a guy called Käärijä. He performed, and all of the critics did not like the song at all, and he's singing in Finnish, right? And then talking with some other experts on the matter, they were like, nobody thought this would be a hit, right? And based on subject matter expertise and first reaction, this is not going to be a hit. And then something happened, and it's like it was huge, and it's still going on, the whole phenomenon, right? So that is an example of where kind of you don't know and you just put it out there, and even though the first initial reactions are like experts say it's not good, the mass public was of some other opinion.
So is that due to, is the data just based on the song itself, or is it him, the persona, the performance, the event upon which it, and the prevailing trend around Eurovision? Because those are other aspects that may not be factored in.
Yeah, you could probably go and argue that he just fits what Eurovision viewers want, right? But then it just like takes upon a fire that no critic would have actually be able to.
Well, I think the most the most successful one that I've heard so far is the American actor Reese Witherspoon. She has a book club, so it's like Oprah Winfrey. So she has a book club. Her data comes back from the women who read the books, and she would then buy the book rights.
Yeah.
And then she owns a production company that would then produce it, and then she stars in some of them.
Okay.
So her revenue streams are manifold, right? But it's all from the data coming from the book club. And she's, I think, apparently sold her production company for close to $1 billion. So Hollywood will fund it because the data has come in and say women love it, and the aspiring authors will want to put their books on to her club because it gets access to the people. And she will say, on condition, I'll put your book in, but I'll take whatever percentage if it gets produced. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that model for her has worked so far.
Okay.
Now, does it create truly original? You know, you look at all these trends, they'll tell you, okay, love stories with wolves and vampires are trending. So you just create those. We'll hit.
Yeah. Well, that's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But her data is smaller, but maybe a bit more intimate because there are people who are actually vested in reading it.
No, okay, I get it. Well, let's. How do we replicate that?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Apple has iPods. They filed for new patents recently.
Yeah.
So the iPods now measure your blood flow,
Yeah.
your heartbeat, and blah blah blah. So it'll be able to pick up even more data from you, whether you actually like a particular song, you're crying when you're watching.
Oh, that is true. Yes.
And that's a lot more intimate data. That's
okay.
How
we know why they're doing it. They will know exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
When you are
right. Once you put on these glasses, these AR glasses as well, then with eye tracking, they'll know exactly what you're looking at, how much your pupils are dilating over it. And then the next moment they'll be sending you some ads to say, yeah, you've been looking for this, now it's on sale.
Okay. Let's hope the benevolent whoever human being that is supposed to figure this out will figure this out. My premise is, and the reason I'm doing the project, so AI within art, is to provoke the discussion of truly thinking through what is the consumer's responsibility in a world driven by AI. Okay. And then the question I wanted to answer is like, why does it make sense at all for me to create art, like amateur art, right? Or like try to monetize my amateur art when you can, camera gone wild. When you can create an abundant amount of art with the help of AI, right? And I have a simple premise to this is that, or the most current like answer I have to this right now is humans need to create first for computers to be able to copy. So like to go from 0 to 1, you need a human. But to go from 1 to a billion, you can go AI. But still, and this goes back to it being a tool, it can only kind of make whatever you're making and amplify it.
That's true. It will also make the craftsman even more sought after.
True. So Dylan, I hope you really you keep writing.
Yeah, me too.
Music.
I really hope.
And Cal, keep cracking those jokes, even though the family doesn't like it.
Actually, I'd be happy if he doesn't. I'll get.
Let's remind the viewers still one last time. Saturday and Sunday, what location? Grandma's food.
Learn Rotting Katu.
Naughty Burger.
Naughty Burger.
She's making. Yeah, she's making these the dark chocolate beef rendang, which you had.
Yeah.
And the Assam curry prawns in a Chinese bun.
Yeah.
And I had a taste of this, and
you had a taste of it.
I went speechless. It was one of the best dishes I've had in a while, and I will challenge my own grandma to make better. She will be here.
Where's your grandma based at the moment?
She's in Brazil.
Okay, so, don't underestimate us. Maybe we'll fly to Brazil and have that challenge with you.
Yeah, or you come here again in June for the AI Within Art event. She's going to be here for that to celebrate. Helsinki's birthday is going to be that day.
Yeah,
I forgot to talk about that. But anyway, I think we've dwelled into a lot of things. We'll let our viewers rest with all these philosophical questions. I would so be delighted to jump on. It's always a delight to talk to both of you and the family, and I'm very privileged to know you and have you in my life. Is there anything more you'd like to leave us a last word of thought to the viewers, Dylan and then Cal?
It's for you, the young, to leave the imprint.
You waiting for something philosophical and poignant.
Yeah, and poignant, so that I can then add on to it,
Yeah.
No, it is for the.
Yeah. Shall we ask ChatGPT?
Yeah,
yes, let's ask ChatGPT. Yes, and then ask us to sponsor our endeavors in the future, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think look, parenting has always been coming from experience. Although I've been on one side of the parenting venture thus far, parenting has always been confusing. Just more confusing with technology, but doesn't feel like it. I don't know. I don't feel so confused by it.
I think if you allow humans to continue to be more human, there's a nice counterbalance to what's coming, right? And then we can work with AI rather than say, because there's no way we can be more machine-like. No matter how the education system has tried to make us more efficient and all, we can't. So maybe with the AI is the turning point where humans can be more human.
Yeah, I think it's always been like a general set of values that at least me and my sister have been grounded in, partly because of my parents, but partly also just because of ourselves. And I would like to think we found ourselves quite early on in our lives, or at least a decent part of it. And I think empathy is going to be a big part moving forward, understanding yourself and other people, and then also just asking why, understanding the nature of things, and then knowing what you can do to help with the nature of things, or yourself or other people. And it leads to a much more interesting time and conversation with what technology can help us do in that regard.
So just quickly, in concrete terms, we were thinking of doing the next book on the big red dot, and the subject is about that empathy, which is she finds. So the basic story is a genie. There's a modern day genie. She wants the world to be a happier, more peaceful place. And as a young girl, she innocently says, "I've got 3 wishes. The first wish, make everyone rich," and she thinks that will make everyone happy and the world more peaceful. And then you find out, no, greed is just as bad. Then she goes, okay, money is the problem, make everyone poor. That also doesn't solve our situation. Her final wish is about actually just make everyone be able to understand what the other person has been through.
That is a beautiful thought, and a good reminder. And I'd like to end on this note, and I hope my kids will be able to learn from you as well in the future, and you get to meet them someday. We'll conclude the live here and jump backstage and continue our discussions over a few.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us.
Thanks
on.
for having us.
Thank you.
Okay.